Everybody, I'm Sean Hammond with PremierGuitar.com. We're at the Premier Builders Guild booth with Mark from Tone King Amps. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great.
You were just playing us some licks through the Galaxy, and a lot of people, I know myself included, recognize the Galaxy from the past, or maybe people who've been paying attention to cool boutique amps over the last 10, 15 years will remember the Galaxy as one of the most unique amps on the market in the boutique field, and you've brought it back. Tell us about that.
That's right, very much. Yeah, I've always wanted to bring this amp back, but I've never quite had the resources to do it, or it was never quite the right time in the market. But, you know, I learned a lot since then. I really know how to make those 6L6s really sing, a lot more than I did back then. So I think what you'll find is this Galaxy is quite a bit more of an amp than the Galaxy of 15 years ago, really.
Okay. Well, how would you characterize the main differences between, you learned how to bias the tubes differently, or what would you say is the main difference between this one and the one from 15 years ago? Well,
that's related. It's all in the output stage and the power supply, and it sags a little bit more, but it's got a lot more organic goods to it. It's just more singing and musical. It's not so hard like the older one was. The older one was a little cleaner, a little less gain, a little harder. This one's a little softer, a little browner, and just more musical and singing, really.
Now, in the past, you also had it running through a 412 cab, and you've scaled it down to a 212 that you were saying you feel is virtually has the same girth and volume.
Oh, absolutely. Like I was saying, that 412, it was a very tall 412, and the top two speakers really didn't contribute much bottom end because of the way they were configured in the cabinet. This cabinet, it's a 212 cabinet. It's a nice, meaty, thick-sounding cabinet, a lot more so than that 412 was. And it's the spatial dimension-wise, it's every bit as big sounding as that 412 was.
Cool. Now, what speakers do you have inside the cab?
The speakers used in this are the same speakers used in the Imperial. It's a custom speaker made by Eminence. And what I wanted them to do, and what I think they really achieved, was it's basically like a Celestion G12M with a little bit more guts in the bass and in the mid-range and the mid-bass, and a little smoother top end, a little less harsh.
Okay. Now back to the head. It's a 6L6 powered 50-watt head, you said?
It's a 60-watt head. It's 4 6L6s, really cooking almost in Class A, and I'm getting still, 60 watts out of them.
Okay, and you have 2 channels and reverb and a tremolo, right?
Right, and it's that old-fashioned tremolo, that grid bias modulation tremolo. Let me crank it up here.
And is that a long spring reverb tank in there?
Yeah, it's a two spring long pan reverb. On my other model, the Metropolitan, I use a 3 spring. It's a little more of a modern sound, so I wanted to go back to the more, the real Fender sounding, vintage sounding reverb.
Cool. Do you want to give us a taste of some of the other flavors from between the channels?
Oh yeah, here you can hear on the clean channel. It's kind of a little darker and a little more filled in the mids and the black bass, maybe kind of somewhere between a black and brown. I could switch over to the lead channel here and dial in kind of a nice fat clean tone out of it. I can turn this mid bite up for a little bit of grind. I'm going to crank the volume down here.
Okay, you've got it going through an attenuator that's of your make too.
There's quite a bit of variety you can get on here. You can crank this sucker up and really get a nice... Or you can turn it down and you get something a little more Fender,
Cool. Now, what do you want to tell us about the Iron Man attenuator?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been trying to do this for an awfully long time. The volume control problem is something that, is especially important now. And my first step towards that was with the Metropolitan, where I came out with the Phase 4 power control scheme. That's really effective, but I wanted to take it one step further and come out with my version of what I think is the ultimate way to do an attenuator. There are a couple of technical things about this that I think make it really superior. First is, it's not a resistive load, it's not a generic reactive load, it's a reactive load that specifically models a particular speaker. This particular model models a Celestion G12M 25 watt very accurately. It's within 1 dB from 30 hertz to 20 kilohertz, models the impedance perfectly. Second thing is, it's entirely transformer coupled. The speaker and the load are transformer coupled at every attenuation setting. There are no resistors in the power division network. And that makes it, everybody says their attenuator is the most transparent, but this is the most transparent. It goes down to negative 40 dB, really low. You'll see, it's on, and you can't hear it. If you're in the bedroom, you can hear it. But, I had to hit that mark where the amplifier was producing less volume than the strings of your guitar, because that's kind of the holy grail to make it a truly bedroom attenuator, and this really does it.
Very cool.
15 attenuation steps, 3D apart, from zero down to minus 40, and it sounds great.
That's very cool. We appreciate you taking the time to show us these, especially when you saw the lights go down. We're at the end of day one of NAMM, about to get kicked out, so we're going to thank you and ask you to tell us where people can go to check out your stuff online.
You can go to premierbuildersguild.com or toneking.com.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. I'm Sean Hammond, and you're watching PremierGuitar.com.